All right. Here we go. Another episode of Max Monday Morning Mojo. And I am blessed and happy to have, hold on. My coffee first off.
Good morning.
Good morning, Gina. And I got Ms. Gina Mace Sands here to join us. And it's a lot. I mean, literally, we haven't been probably face to face in how many years? It's been a while.
I mean, I'm going to say 30, which is weird because we're both 34, but.
Exactly. When we came out of the womb, we were already, we were friends. But
no, I've known Max since I was 15.
Oh my God, that's crazy, isn't it? That's crazy.
So well, good 30 years. But we stayed in contact.
We have stayed in contact, and that's cool. Well, Gina and I go way back. As you know, she's also a senior producer and is doing some awesome things in the industry. What's that industry called? Hollywood?
Correct. Hollywood.
And she's done some outstanding shows. Some you may know of. She's been a part of Breaking Bad. Currently, we talked about Selling Sunset, and she's going to talk about a few more here. And I got some cool questions for you. I think some stuff I want to know what goes on behind the scenes. So we're going to have some fun here. You have questions, go ahead and ask. I'm going to try to get that set up so I can see these questions.
See if it works.
And we're going to take it from there. So, Gina, hey, tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then we'll get into what got you going into TV.
Sure. So, as you know, I went to Thousand Oaks High School. That's how I know Mac. I started out when I was in college, I knew I wanted to be in entertainment because my aunt was in entertainment, and I started out in publicity, didn't like that. And then I was in corporate entertainment doing marketing, promotions, product placement for about 15 years. So I worked at Fox Kids and Saban Entertainment, ran the promotions team for them, worked at Sony doing international marketing for them, then worked at Cablevision where my team launched Breaking Bad and Mad Men. So Mad Men, if you saw all the product integration, Coca-Cola, Heineken, et cetera, that was my team's job. So I've always worked very closely with entertainment and brands. And then I ran the prize department for The Price is Right, which was super fun. And then when that ended, my colleague from Let's Make a Deal called me and said, I have a live reality wish fulfillment game show that Ryan Seacrest is doing. We'd love for you to come run the prize department.
He said, let's make a deal.
It was my colleague from Let's Make a Deal, but no, it was actually my very, very first show was an ill-fated show that was only 2 episodes. It was called Knock Knock Live with Ryan Seacrest.
Okay.
So it was kind of game, wish fulfillment. So a deserving family there was a girl who missed her quinceañera. So we had Justin Bieber come and we recreated a quinceañera for her. And it was sponsored by Retail Me Not. But to kind of dovetail before that, when I was still working in corporate, my house was actually on a TV show called The Outdoor Room with Jamie Dury on HGTV. And I didn't really know a lot about production, but I knew I wanted my backyard redone for free.
Uh-huh.
So I was going to Brazil for one of my clients at the time. So I filled everything out in a day. I recorded myself. I recorded the backyard. I recorded Isabella at the time, who was 8. And the team came and saw the space, and I was picked. And I had just gone to Thailand. And so I talked to the producers, and they didn't tell me at the time, but my episode was going to be a Thai-inspired backyard. So I had to leave my house for 5 days, only 5 days, and they totally. So it was just grass, and I think there was a trampoline from when Isabella was little. And I'm looking at it right now. I came back, and it was completely redone with lighting and a daybed and a 12-foot metal table. In 5 days, they totally recreated. Wow. And I was able to come in because I was, Isabella and I were part of the show. And the craziness and the quickness and the creativity, I thought, I love corporate, but these are my people. These are wacky, fast-paced, fast-talking, creative people. So that was a little taste of reality TV before I officially got into producing myself.
Right. Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, with that whole thing, I've always wondered this: when they come in and tear your house apart like that, are they pretty clean? I mean, they come in there. When you come back, was it just what you expected, or was it perfect, or was it dirty? I mean, what was it?
Yes and no. So it was. They were the team that produced it was great. It was obviously all outside. So it was very clean. So they did, for this particular show, they did a reveal, and I had some of my neighbors come. So I think, again, with most home makeover shows, renovation shows, so we came out, it looked perfect. It was, 5 days. So then little things popped up. Like my gardener said, they did a day bed for Isabella, like in between two trees. They called it, Jamie called it the air lounge. It was like a big day bed and, in between two trees.
Right.
So the next week, my gardener said, do you want this nailed down? Because the steps aren't nailed. So I was like, oh yeah, we probably want that nailed down if the kids are going to go up there. And then there was no lighting. So then I came in and did lighting. So, it's fine. And again, they did a good job. Some of the shows, actually, I was asked to be on another show. It was like a kind of a hoarder's light where they make your house really dirty and then they clean it up.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, I don't want to look like that.
Yeah, I don't want to look like a hoarder.
They're like, take out all your books and we're going to redo your office, but make it look really shitty and then we're going to fix it. And I go, well, what do I get? They're like, oh, we'll make some IKEA furniture and this and that. And I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, no, I'll pass on that.
I'm messy enough on my own.
So have you done any shows where you had celebrities involved with any of these makeover shows, these reality outside? Well, you said Justin Bieber, but that was on another show. Right?
That was like I said, that was the Knock Knock Live, which was a wish fulfillment game show. So that was a lot of that was David Beckham, which was a highlight for me.
Yeah.
Justin Bieber, some other celebrities, but in terms of the makeover shows, no, that was that was the only show that had, then obviously on my other shows there were, the reality celebrities that I worked with. But
right. Who's your favorite celebrity to work with so far?
To work with? Well, I have to say meeting David Beckham for Knock Knock Live was pretty much up there. And I had to, he went in to give a family, Sprint was our partner, we had a lot of partners, which my team brought in. Right. And so he was going to go in and it was all real, which I didn't know because this was my very first show. And so he had to be held, before we got the family in place. So I got to hold him hostage in my car.
So his wife wasn't there?
No, not that I know.
You can always say you got to hold David Beckham hostage in your car.
And I have to say, Justin Bieber was, he ended up doing 2 segments for us because Ryan Seacrest got sick so he ended up doing 2. We had him held for like 12 hours. He was skateboarding and doing his thing. Professional, such a nice kid. But yeah, I'd have to say Beckham. Oh, and then when I worked on Meet the Pete's, Holly Robinson Pete and her family,
right?
I got to meet, which is on, I think there's a picture on Instagram, Smokey Robinson, who I photobombed. I'll send you the picture. So that was pretty cool. Actually,
that's funny. It's a small world because real good friend of mine was actually, was married to his daughter at one point in time. So we got to, meet as well. So it's a small world, right?
It is. All roads lead back to Smokey, I guess.
I know, right? So a lot of people have been asking me this question and they wanted me to make sure that I ask you this question, and that's reality versus real. When it comes down to, especially like, we haven't really talked about it, like Selling Sunset and some of the other ones that, you've been involved in. A lot of people ask about how real is that? These people are really real estate agents? Do they really work that hard? Or is it just all glamorous? They just show up in beautiful cars and go walk through beautiful houses and, what's the deal there?
That's a good question and something that obviously I read a lot, after I worked on season 2 and 3 of Selling Sunset. So obviously in quarantine, that was a very popular show and a lot of articles came out. about they're all not really real estate agents. That is 100% not true. Everyone on the show has their real estate license.
False. All right. Good to hear. Good to hear.
Correct.
So they're grinding, they're working, they're making their phone calls.
I have to say, I have not that I did not have a respect for real estate agents, but they are hustlers.
Yeah.
Almost as much as TV producers. I'm just kidding. It's a fast pace. I mean, you know, and the show Selling Sunset, I mean, I guess, I don't know if people know the reason it's named is it focuses on the real estate south of Sunset Boulevard in West Hollywood. And there's, it's very interesting to me how real estate here, I don't know how it is in Denver, it's very cut up in terms of everyone has their specialty. So there's, and the real estate agents, it's a very small knit group and they're all like celebrities. But so my show focused on the properties south of Sunset, up in, you know, a lot of different areas. Even that is cut up that the team, but they're what's called the Bird Streets, which is probably some of the most exclusive sought after real estate in Los Angeles because it's private and it's only a couple hundred houses. Right. And I didn't even know, as you know, I grew up here. I didn't even know that existed and that was called that. Obviously the Bird Streets because all the streets are named after birds. Yeah. And, you know, I was actually up there again with a friend of mine. He was doing some improvements on a house out there because he was working on those houses at that time. And we go into this big old gated community and these huge houses. And then you go, oh yeah, Smokey Robinson lives over there. Oh yeah, by the way, Sylvester Stallone lives over there and over there. So was it like that when you guys were kind of going out there scoping these places out? In terms of knowing who lived where? Yeah, just like, you know, you were in these communities and you knew like, hey, Arnold Schwarzenegger might live over here. Absolutely not. No, really? It was of all the places I filmed in LA, which is hundreds, I have to say that you can't just roll up and be like, hey, I'm here. You have to get a permit. There are very specific rules. You do not, I mean, I know from the media and reading, you know, that Jennifer Aniston lives up there and Tony McGuire, but in terms of us, we would go in, was, if you watch, which I'm sure you watched many, many times, both season 2 and 3, but I'm kidding. It's on all the time at the house. What are you talking about? It's on right now. It's on right now. Well, I'm not even there, and it's on. Right. It's just on. So we started. I didn't work on season 1, but going into season, I think even the house was on season 1, if I am correct. It's a $40 million house that kind of made its way through all 3 seasons, and then it finally the opening of the 3rd season is the agents having a party and inviting other agents, and so that was up there, and you know that it takes a minute to build out a $40 million house. Right. And there are staff that work. I mean, you know, I would have, you know, I ran the segment team that booked all the locations and all that kind of stuff, and hopefully Erica and Sarah are watching. Hi, girls. But you know, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of rules. It's a lot of parking nightmares. But to answer your question, you kind of know and get the feeling, you know, when you have a 10,000 square foot house with a waterfall and an infinity pool, you kind of go, okay. Yeah. There's some people that live here, but. So you guys had to film those. So you had to see the buyers of those homes or prospective buyers of those homes. I mean, I know one question that always came up every time I turned on the season was, who are these people and what do they do? They're buying like, you know, $40-50 million homes. That's awesome. I'm looking at the commissions that these agents are making. I'm like, that's even more awesome. And, you know, I was just reading up actually the owner of our company, Anthony Shea. He just bought, I think the end of last year, he just bought a $61 million property in Orange County. You know, I don't know if you ever looked that up or you could look that up, but man, it was incredible too. So I'm just thinking, is everybody that's the owner of your company? Yeah. All right. Well, that's the place to be. Yeah. Google it. I'm done when we hang up. But when you look at that, like what do these people do? I mean, they're not just your average doctor, lawyer, or anything like that. I mean, what are they? I mean, it's all different. I mean, I have to say, no, I'm trying to remember. It was, you know, we finished the end of 2019. lawyers, a lot of people that are already in the business, developers.
Gotcha.
I mean, a lot of different, investment bankers. I'm sure there were celebrities. I mean, that
Right.
I think, but not. I mean, we looked at one house that was a celebrity, but yeah, just all different. Obviously, I think there's. I think a lot of people who are in LA. I mean, we talked about this in the middle of COVID, in the middle of especially LA being hit with entertainment being down, tourism, restaurant. The property value here right now is higher than it's ever been. So I'm thinking, right. Who are these people buying houses for cash? So right. I think, from what we found is that it's people that there are developers that, as are always buying property, selling. I mean, that's their business. So a lot of that goes on. And then in terms of the $40 million house was ultimately sold, and I think it sold after we wrapped, so I don't know, but I'll let you know who bought it.
Yeah, it's funny because you watch these shows and, some people seem like they're pretty fun and easy to work with. And then some people, seem like they're mean and gruff. And that's what we deal with on a daily basis. So you always wonder, is that made up? Or are these people really just rough and gruff sometimes?
Well, and then there's a lot of houses that we filmed that were, they're selling them. So we don't know really anything about who owned them, and we don't know who's going to buy them. I think one of my favorite houses was actually one of the anomalies that wasn't in Sunset. It was in Bel Air, and it was the Versace mansion.
Oh,
and
really?
It was actually listed because not only do we feature the agents from O Group, but we also feature agents because we want to go out and look at other houses. So right. It was a house that was being sold by Sean Elliott, who works for Nest Seekers, a great friend of the show. And it was the Versace mansion, and it was a $10 million property, and it was all themed Versace.
Wow. I want to see that one.
It's in one of the episodes, but was so over the top. It was so extravagant. And I think it was a prince or a sultan. We never met the guy.
Right.
I will tell you, what was in one of his closets is worth just millions. But it was interesting because you can't show the Versace logo. You can't show certain logos without having clearance.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So we had to shoot the house, which was all Versace themed, without showing the Versace logo.
Wow.
But it was over the top with the pool and the statues and the staircase that was a lot of fun to see that.
So what are your favorite shows to do? The fix and flipper type shows, or now that you've done, the reality, with the agents and all those things involved, what's your favorite now?
Well, as I told you, I had some interest in real estate, and my daughter and I would go look at open houses, and we love all that. I loved doing real estate. To me, the real estate, of course, because that's what I worked on. The real estate was really the star of the show, and I would love to do another real estate show. I would love to do a home makeover show, like the one that was done at my house. And I also really want to do a cooking show because in COVID, I've become a semi-okay.
You can cook? You can cook?
I can.
Wow. It has been some time now.
I had to do something, Mac.
Well, see, and you know what? Denver is growing. You guys might need to come out here. I might have to show you some properties, get some of my real estate agents on board, go for some of these high-level folks, and we got some properties out here. Get those $1 million properties.
Now, is the market crazy there too, as it is here during COVID? Is it?
It's ridiculous. It's the same.
Bananas. Can you explain? Like, to me, I would think that people wouldn't be buying right now, but
they are like crazy because I think we were talking about this before. I think when markets are low or interest rates are low, the people that can afford to make those moves, maybe they have a property now and they can sell it, they can make money. This is the time for them to make that move. So they're making that move, and we're seeing it in droves. Right now, pretty much any property out there, you're going to be in a bidding war. So you have to be ready. You got to be pre-approved. You got to have a strong real estate agent. You got to be ready to rock and roll. There is no, well, I'll think about it. I'm going to come back tomorrow.
Because of supply and demand also? Is there just not a lot of houses on the market, or?
The builders can't even build them fast enough.
Right.
And now out here to build a new house is still costing you over $500,000, and that's not, the big, huge house. I mean, that doesn't sound like it's a huge number in terms of when you're talking $10 million houses, but for the average person trying to buy a house, this is a change in our market, and it's a big change in our market, but it's fun right now. I mean, I think everybody should be looking at real estate and looking at it as a time to jump in and not worry about, everybody wants to think about, well, is it a bubble? Is it going to crash? Well, we don't even know if we are going to wake up tomorrow. So take advantage of what you have right now.
Well, and I think because at least here, I don't know about there, I would assume everywhere right now, people are, like I converted my daughter's old bedroom into an office. So people are going to want more space.
Yes, that's what's happening.
They're working from home. So if you have the money, then you go, okay, I lived in an apartment. Now I want to, we have friends that are from New York out here, and they want, they want space, right?
They do. And that's the thing. Either they can build it out on their own, build out their basement, or they have to go look to buy another house to build out. So, but it's just as crazy out here. And I think in some areas, even more crazy because there's nowhere to really build. Like you go downtown, there's nowhere else to go. I mean, people are knocking down, they're buying people's houses, knocking them down and building up brand new ones, that are rock stars. So it's fun. Now, here's another question for you. How hard is it to make these shows entertaining, especially the fix and flip ones? I mean, shows like Selling Sunset, things like that, you can make those entertaining pretty easily, right?
Well, yeah, because you've got the backdrop that's real estate, obviously, and then the day-to-day of, the office, what goes on business-wise. And then, when you've got 6 women and 2 men, you've got an ensemble cast of 8 people and all their personal lives. Right. It's really more keeping track of it than it is, trying to create what, there's stuff going on. As you saw, we had 2 weddings. We had, Maya had a baby. We had a lot of stuff happen. Right. So, with the home makeover shows, that's a good question. I mean, they filmed, you film a lot of content, not just obviously what's going on, but you notice obviously watching it in post. That's where the post team is magical, as they always are in every show. Is They shoot a lot of, a B-roll, incident, so it's close-ups, and then they put in the interview bites. So what I liked when I was able to watch my show is that, I obviously knew what was going on when I was there or what I saw, but they do the interview bites with Jamie, who was the host of the show, and then I can't remember the name of the woman that was was the whatchamacallit, I haven't had my second cup of coffee yet, that did all the floral stuff.
Right.
And then the builder. And so they would interject, they would show a segment and they'd say, okay, so what we're doing here is we're going to take this space and we want to create a day bed and have an outdoor feel. Right. So I think it's important to have all the right content, and it's important to have people that can really talk to, because when you're watching a makeover show, you want to know, why did they do this? Well, they did all succulents and things that could survive without a lot of shade.
Right.
So, and, so I think people want to walk away with, okay, well, I can do that to my house, or I can, add some lights behind. And I think that's what makes a successful show like that, is that it's interesting. And then you kind of always want to walk away with, okay, how can I do something to make my backyard?
Only tough part about these shows that kills, even it gets me too, is that they go in there and they go, okay, we did this for $10,000. And then when I go and try to do something like that, it's like $20,000, to do it. They're the budgeting on it. I look at it like, I think everybody wants to be a do-it-yourselfer now because of some of these shows. So
it's hard. I mean, you see on the front end, obviously you see, there's the 3 main for outdoor room. There was Jamie, and then the landscape architect. That was the word I was thinking of. And then the builder. But guess what? There were 12 people building. So you're going out going, okay, well, Jamie and his two-person team can do it. No. There's the minute you turn off the camera, there's 12 people. There's, and they get, I think they had a deal with the nursery, and so they got a lot of stuff. So when they say they did it on X amount of budget, it's a lot more than
it cracks me up because I think like you guys probably should sign like Nike deals with Home Depot. They should pay you guys because I'm sure they make a ton of money off of.
Yeah, a lot of the shows do have branded integrations. A lot of the shows on HDTV do. And yes, when you see, because that's, kind of my corporate background, when you see a Home Depot, when you see a Gorilla Glue, and we fix it, that's all integration from a brand that they do pay for. That, if you call up Home Depot and say, hey, I'm using your stuff, can I have it for free? I mean, try it.
Yeah, I was watching the show and they said to call you.
So here's what I
want. So you talked about corporate. I know we only touched on the corporate side earlier on, but I know you had some dealings in your hands in Breaking Bad, which Breaking Bad was a huge show. I mean, I literally binge watched that show. I think for like a couple months, which was crazy.
What's funny is you're not going to believe this. I've never watched it past the first season.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So when I was at Cablevision, and it was AMC that had Breaking Bad and Mad Men launched the same year. Mm-hmm. So I would go out to agencies, to brand agencies and, advertising agencies. And so I would show a clip. And so it's like what I just talked about, you want brand integration. So as Walt's vehicle, is very prominent. Right. So I pitched my little heart out for Breaking Bad. So you can imagine Breaking Bad wasn't Breaking Bad, right? It's very edgy. He's dying of cancer. He becomes a drug dealer. So I remember sitting with all these agencies and, do you want to integrate?
Yeah, they're like.
So I think eventually we ended up getting a deal with, was it Ford or Dodge? I think it was Dodge for the car, but no other brand wanted to touch it.
Yeah, they didn't want to be a part of that.
So then after season 1, and it was such a big hit, I remember going to, back when people used to see each other, I was at some conference, and this guy came up to me, he said, I'll never forget you because you pitched us Breaking Bad and we passed.
And now he's kicking
himself. But then Mad Men was easier because the show was around brands. So, working with Matthew Weiner's team and staying very consistent with the script. Okay, if Betty Draper is doing a commercial for Coca-Cola, well, you go out and see if Coke wants to be a part of it. And if they don't, we're still going to keep it. So, and then there were some things where, okay, we can put this brand in. So it was really more staying true to the script and then going out to the partners and saying, hey, this is, and again, Mad Men wasn't Mad Men and it hadn't hit yet, but we did, as you saw, got some partners. And then obviously once it hit, then other partners, came on board.
Right. So I'm going to back off of that. So tell me this, what's coming next for Gina? I mean, I know, with COVID and everything, I know California is pretty still well shut down. Hopefully that will break up here soon as they're starting to release more.
I'm just going to come work for you, Mac.
There you go. You got to
sit right there. That office is so official. I just want to.
I'm trying to look like the president right now. I got my flag in the back. I'm still backwards here. Flag in the back.
I looked at last week. You had a hat on and a T-shirt.
I know.
I will dress accordingly. And then you show up like you're holding a board meeting.
You never know what you're going to get.
I love it. I told you, I'm flattered that you dressed up for me. That's very sweet. So what's next well, that's a good question because I've had a little, obviously some of the shows I traditionally worked on are not filming right now because of COVID. So I actually developed a show from scratch with one of my colleagues. It was kind of a heartfelt makeover show that we wrote the treatment, we found the talent, we pitched it to 4 different production companies. It didn't get picked up, which is fine. But, I think like part of why I wanted to do this was you always want to be pushing yourself, right? So I always wanted to develop a show did we get it sold? No. But now I can say I wrote a treatment. We found talent. We put together a deck. We got 4 meetings.
Right.
And then I also went back to one of my other production companies and am developing, I can't talk about it now, but a dating show. So
Okay.
I have been in COVID because we can't go on film. I've been working on some development, which is, I think that's kind of my next right turn-ish, is that being involved in developing a show before it even goes, and then obviously working and producing it.
Right.
And then I'm doing business. I just picked up a client. I'm doing business development for a production company that specializes in virtual production, which obviously makes sense right now. So we send out, a very bare bones team, a director, an audio, maybe an AC, and then the equipment they have is you're able to set up Video Village remotely, but the equipment goes right into the camera, so you're able to direct virtually and without having Wi-Fi and stuff. So that I think you always have to be, it's adapt or die, right? So I didn't want to die, so I have to adapt.
No, don't die. We need you. Don't die.
So yeah, so I think so I'm helping out that company, and hopefully some of the shows I've developed, the one I developed in quarantine, we'll start filming once we're out from under. As you know, LA is extremely the lockdown of the lockdown until our numbers, we gotta do what we gotta do. So
yeah, it's because they were too wide open at the beginning, and now it's all coming back to roost. But that's another show.
That's another topic for another day.
That's another topic. I'm gonna stay off of that one. Anything that has to do with that or politics, not on this show right now.
Exactly.
Now, I got a show I should pitch you. Here's my pitch.
I'm ready.
We're gonna do something like Broiler Room, but from the loan officer standpoint. So you got all these loan officers in a room. Rates are going crazy like right now. They're up, they're down. You got the news putting all this media out there saying that rates are at all-time lows. They're at 0%. You got people calling thinking they're going to get 0%. And then you got all these loan officers going nuts because they're trying to educate all these people to what's really going on in the world. Then they're educating real estate agents. And we're just going crazy. And then we still have our own lives to deal with because our kids aren't in school. And we're having to deal with that, but be on everybody else's time frame. That's the show I want to do.
And it's a big open room with just things coming out of the wall and
oh yeah, surprises from
phones, not even chairs.
Oh yeah, clients calling you up saying they quit their job and became a ninja right before closing, and then they just decided because they're closing on this house and they want to celebrate, they're just going to go buy a new RV. And their debt ratio gets blown out of the water, and now they can't qualify for the home, and life is over, and they can't get back in. I'm telling you.
Figure out what networks to pitch it to. I love it, Mac. And then you have to go home and teach your first grader math.
Exactly.
Now, is your TV one? She's not physically in school?
She just started back. She's back in school as of last week. So now I get a little bit of reprieve. So when I'm in the home office, I can actually focus and concentrate. So, in this world, we have to deal with the marketing side of the business, generation, keeping everybody happy, and still trying to fit that all in my day, probably a 12-hour work day, So, because I try to get this thing started about 5 in the morning, and lately it hasn't been ending till like 7 or 8 or 9.
I keep my hats off to you. I saw your 5 a.m., 30 degrees. I'm like, yeah, no.
Hey, it's that game changer next level thing, but
it's great. I love that you keep, that's what I love about you. You keep pushing, you stay motivated, you continually figure ways to reinvent, and I love it.
Well, thanks. I totally appreciate you taking the time.
It's been so much fun.
Man, any last words for this? Because, I got to have you back on in a few months, and we'll
yes. Well, when I get on my next show after everything, God willing, then we'll talk about, what other, and then we'll offline have to figure out the name of your show. It can't be Boiler Room. It's got to have your name in it because that's so you.
Yeah, I thought about like maximizing effects or something like that. Maximizing something.
I got it. Okay, we'll think about it. I have the visual all now. We'll have an ensemble cast, but you'll be at the helm, of course.
As long as Denzel plays me, then we're
No,
cool.
it's gonna be a docu-follow. You're gonna play you.
Oh, okay, we're gonna have a
I do
docu-follow.
unscripted. It's gonna be you. No.
Okay, unscripted. All right, I'll do that.
Unscripted. You play you.
All right, I'll play me. You be the director. We got this rocking and rolling. There we go.
I love it.
Now, next time when they get out of COVID and you get back to filming, we'll make plans. I'm gonna come out there and visit and check out some of these cool places that you go. So I only get to go back to California for work, and then it's in and out, bam, bam. So like this week, bouncing, we have to go out to Seattle and then come back, but it's always just work. So I want to get out there and do some fun work.
And I want to come out there once we can. My daughter's looking. I think I told you at school out there, so we'll have to come out and.
Yeah, for sure. We'll show you around. We'll show you around for sure. Well, I know you got to get back to it. I'm going to go approve some loans and tell some people what to get done.
Sign some important documents. Obviously, you've got your pen ready, your tie.
Always. I'm ready to sign that contract.
Always be closing.
Maximizing Breaking Bad. No, I don't know. We'll figure out. All right, man. I appreciate you coming on. If anybody wants to get a hold of Gina, just give me a holler. And if you have more questions, we'll make sure we get her back on and do this again. I never get enough.
Sounds good. So much fun.
Thanks, Gina. We'll talk to you later.
Have a good day.
You too.